Okay, this is a product review. Trying something new. I'm painting a guitar. Says it works on wood, metal, plastic, and crafts. This is a newer product. I normally don't use this. I usually stick with Rust-Oleum. And most people, people say, well, you're painting a guitar. Most people use lacquer-based spray guns. I have the ability. I have an air tank right there, and I have an air gun over here. And I have painted before with it, but it's quicker, faster to use rattle can if your product's good. I've always used Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum's never let me down. Rust-Oleum's got some good stuff out. But this is a new product, and it's about $1 cheaper, but you get less. I think the 14, 16 ounces in the Rust-Oleum can. This is only 10 ounces, so you gotta be sure. But a lot of guitars are doing a flat base with a satin or flat matte finish. So I'm trying to go with this whole new new to me, without a gloss, without a sheen. So I was very skeptical on this. Do I need to prime my wood first? Because this has got a primer in there. It says premium spray paint, paint and primer. Rust-Oleum stuff, paint and primer, goes on fairly good. I don't have to prime it. I don't have to prime it at all. Been painting with it for a while now. Between that and getting lacquer stuff. Lacquer stuff it stinks more fumes, more involved, longer dry times. With rattle can stuff, quicker dry times, you shoot it, you're done. Put a clear gloss. A lot of people use it. This is a hobby, this is not a business. A lot of people do it. So I was like, well, let me try out a sample sheet. This is just my prey, get the stuff, particles going, mix real good. So I got a piece of wood. This is untreated piece of pallet wood, and sprayed it. You can see in the light, bring it up here in the light, and you see the grains. It soaks into the grains. I'm like, oh, that's not what I want. I don't want that. It's got primer. It should seal those. But I'm like, okay, well, this is deeper porous stuff. This is not sanded down. You have to sand your finish or your product. You have to sand it down, scuff it up, whatever you have to do. Smooth it out, smooth finish. This has been smooth. And what I did was I put a dust coat on first. All right, that's why it's not completely covered. This is basically a dusting coat. And after using this and playing over there with it, I can already say I'm gonna have to buy another can if this works. I'm gonna have to buy another can of this because this can's not gonna do this, because I'm also gonna paint the headstock to match, but I'm gonna have paint left over from that, because one can from me playing around is not gonna do the guitar, because we're talking probably 3 coats. This is one coated dusting coat, and you can see I got spots where I did white hit and it needs to go darker and some. It's just a dusting coat to get it on there. It says fast dry time. It's been about 12 minutes right now, and I still have some spots that are still a little bit wet. You don't want to hit that right away, because then you develop runs. We don't like runs in our guitar bodies. But I will say, after looking at it, this is mahogany too, and it's been sanded smooth. I did not put a primer on here, and I did not put a sanding sealer on here. Dusting coat, it looks like we might be okay at the dusting coat, but you really won't know until your second coat if it's going to be soaking in, because I do likely see grains. Right in there you see grains. This is just a dusting coat, so it's not even on there that thick. So I can't really go by that. It'll be the second coat that I go by to know if this is gonna work. In theory, with what it says, paint primer, smooth surface, I shouldn't. Because with Rust-Oleum, I don't, unless it's a very porous wood. Mahogany and some oak. smooth, sanded, doesn't need to be primed when you're putting a paint primer on. You don't have to do any previous prepping like that. It just doesn't make sense to prime it and then use a paint that's got a paint and primer mix. So this will let me know if this paint is good. Maybe for metal, maybe for plastic or crafts, but not gonna be good for wood without a prior primer or sanding sealer on it. But then this is not gonna work for me because this is a budget paint job, not a high-dollar paint job. If I was gonna do a high-dollar paint job, I would be using my lacquers, automotive grade paints for longer durability. I do light paint jobs to where they can wear over time and give it that relic look naturally wearing into you. That polyurethane stuff they're using now is way too thick. It ain't gonna happen. So I think we're getting ready to do a second coat because it's dried up some. You don't want to let it acclimate. I mean, you don't want it to dry overnight and then come back to stuff. You kind of want it to tack up and then do your next one. So I think we're ready for the next one. Second coat and we'll come back. Okay, we're back. Second coat, it's a little bit darker. I got a little run right here. I try to get the swoop right in here and I got a little bit too much in it. And I got a little bit up in here at the swoop. You'll notice down here, it's a little bit darker. The wood is soaking, it's soaking in the wood. It's gonna need another coat for sure. I'm gonna have to go over this right in here. So by looking at this and how it's turning out here, this is not gonna work. The paint will go on here. I'm gonna make it go on here. I'm gonna have to get another can, I already decided, but I'm going to have to go over this with a light sanding to get the little spots and the runs. So this is gonna have to dry completely. I'm not putting another coat on this today. I'm going to sand it smooth, not down to the wood, but sand it, get all this out, and it's gonna have to get another coat. Okay, this paint is not gonna work for wood projects that have not been priorly, like a sanding sealer, even adhesion promoter, which is basically a clear primer. You can get adhesion promoter or pre-primed. So this is not as good as Rust-Oleum. I'm not a paint professional by any means, but from experience, that makes you kind of a professional with experience because you've been around it. That's the logic that a lot of people go by, and I hear that, I'm like, that don't make no sense. But now that I say that, and where experience comes from, and what makes professionals in the field a professional is years of experience doing something. And with my years of experience doing this, I guess that makes me a self-proclaimed professional. Just like anybody else is a self-proclaimed professional and somebody else says it. So if somebody tells me I'm a professional, I guess it makes me professional because somebody told them they were professional. Anyways, that was way out in left field. I took you way out there and left you. Okay, let's come back. You're gonna have to pre-prime this. Something. Adhesion promoter, sanding sealer, or a primer on wood before using Colorshot's paint and primer mix. If you're using Rust-Oleum, I can only speak for experience on maple, mahogany, pine. What was the other one? What other wood did I use it on? This mahogany, I've used it on maple, basswood. I know I've used it on other bodies before. Basswood, mahogany. I haven't used a maple body, but I use it on the neck. See, the neck over here we got to do is maple, and I have to do the headstock. So maple, I've done mahogany, basswood, and I want to say I've used it on ash too, but no. Ash was a different project with a dye. Anyways, those paints, oh, and pine, yeah, pine. Pine with Rust-Oleum paint and primer mix, you don't have to pre-prime. You can just go at it. Other woods, I don't know. I know swamp ash is very porous. It'll soak right in there, so I know I didn't try it with that. Maple is very porous. It takes dyes really well. And so does mahogany. Mahogany takes dyes very well. So a regular paint won't work. You'll have to prime it, but a paint and primer mix, it should do fine. And I'm noticing certain areas, it is taking it very well. Certain areas, it's not. And this is a two-piece mahogany body. The paint is not mixed very well. It's, I don't know, the mixture's not all the way. Something's lacking in it. The primer portion, the paint portion is lacking. Or it's probably a primer and they put a dye in there, but it's lacking. It's not mixing right. And I've been shaking the thing. I'm shaking it shake the crap out of it every time and playing around over there. I know it's shooting right. You know, we got all the particles at the beginning out. So we're gonna let this dry. I'm gonna sand this down. It's just gonna take quite a bit for this body. It shouldn't have done that. The Colorshot, that one can should have done this whole body. In theory, should have done this whole body and that spot on that neck and been done. And I may have to go get another can. It was very iffy if I was going to get another can. But now I know I'm going to get another can because I don't have enough in that can to do this, because after I sand this back some, I'm going to have to shoot it at least 2 more times, maybe 3. And then that's probably going to take 2 coats, being a small surface, probably 2 coats. So definitely going to have to get another can. But yeah, you're going to have to prep it. You're going to have more money in the paint job than Rust-Oleum. It's $1 more for Rust-Oleum, and I know it works. They got beautiful colors though. They got colors that Rust-Oleum don't have. If you want to use that color, you're gonna have to buy primer too. You're gonna have more in the paint job. So yeah, mine's made up. It's got to be done. I'm already dedicated to this color right now. I got hardware to accent the colors and stuff, so we're set. We just got to buy another can, and I'm just gonna have to know this again. If I find a color, I'm gonna have to look at Rust-Oleum first, then I know that it'll work, and then if I can't, and I have to have that color that's with Colorshot, I'm gonna have to know that I'm gonna have to buy a can of primer too. No diss on the paint, great color, beautiful color. Taking it very well, dry time's excellent. The run's my fault, but it's soaking in certain spots that the mix is not right. This is only 2 coats. Third coat may be fine, but I can tell by the way it's soaking into the wood. This should have been like a 3 coat and done. Now we're looking upwards in the 4 or 5 coat, because now I have to sand back because there's some spots that are not reacting right. I don't know why it's doing this. You get you can't see, it's not focusing. You're getting weird little reactions in the paint right there. See that? In certain spots, like, see that? You can't have that. This was sanded smooth, and I took a tack cloth and went over it. So this was a clean product. The first coat, it didn't do that. The second coat, it done that. And it was tacked up and dried. And then I got a little bit too heavy in this corner, developing a little run. See that? It's focusing now. Yeah, I can't have that. I got to smooth that out. It didn't do that until the second coat on wood. See that? That shadowing in the wood where it's soaking in right there. Yeah. So we're gonna let this dry. I'm gonna go over it probably in an SOS pad like a Scotch-Brite. It'll get rid of that. Maybe a little. It's not too big of a thing. I'll probably have to hit it with maybe like some 400 grit, maybe. We'll take care of that. And then we should be good. I got enough paint in there to do one more coat. If 3 coats get it, that's great, but I still have to buy another can because I got 2 coats on that, and that's not gonna take very much, so I'm assuming 3 coats ain't gonna do this. I'm assuming it's gonna be at least 4 or 5. So I'm gonna have to buy another can. But that's where we're at. Just a product review. Doesn't work for everybody. Won't work for me without more work involved. Here's another thing I didn't notice until I opened my garage door. Look at that. Look. Look at that. I put this tarp here just in case it was bad and would run and drip. If I knew it was gonna do this, I'd open the tarp even more. That little can did that on that little small project? That's crazy. I hope that comes off. It might. Yeah, it comes off. It's just dust, but jeez, that's crazy. That is crazy. Now that I got out natural light hitting it, look at that. Wow. Yeah, this ain't gonna work. You're gonna have to pre-prep. That's what the spots are. It's soaking into the pores. It's probably gonna die. I'm gonna definitely buy another can just to finish this. I don't want to scrap it because I really like its color and I've already got stuff to kind of accent it. That's crazy. Yeah, this paint ain't gonna work. I ain't got any problem like it with Rust-Oleum. Even Cryon. I used to stay away from Cryon. I started using it recently because I got some pretty neat stuff, but I didn't know she's like that. Man, it's good. Nice colors though. Dang. Gonna be a lot of prep and make a big mess. All right, product review.